Okay, so my first reported monologue of the year in the midst of all this news about Venezuela. What I try to do in the reported monologues is tell you stuff you're not going to hear other places. And when a big story like this, when all you've heard for several days now is about Venezuela, I got to look for my targets of opportunity. So you're not just getting more of the same. So I've been talking to a lot of people about what's going on, and I've teased out two elements of this that I think are pretty important, and I hope you'll find pretty interesting. One involves Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and one involves what's going on with the strategy here, not the tactics of grabbing Maduro or the threats about running the country or claims to be running the country, but what is the sort of the grand vision here that the Team Trump, the president, are trying to execute. So those are the two things I'm going to talk to you about, informed by a lot of conversations I've had with people involved in the national security apparatus, some on Capitol Hill and the administration, folks advising the administration. But first, I want to start with Marco Rubio. Just an incredible story about a young guy who 10 years ago was basically at war with Donald Trump when he ran against him for president. And he goes from the very harsh relationship with Trump, mocking in both directions, which we'll look at in a minute, to now being really the top foreign policy figure in this administration. Not since Henry Kissinger has someone had both the jobs of national security advisor and secretary of state. In any administration, Secretary of State is really, along with Vice President, it's the plum job. It's the job that so many people want. And I can't tell you the number of very high-level people over the years who said, I want Secretary of State or nothing. I will not take a job in the new government. I won't give up my current life without getting that. So Rubio gets that job. But then also when the national security advisor is forced out, Rubio is asked to take both positions. And he is now one of a half dozen people around the president who are in the room where it happens all the time. And on national security, Rubio is the dominant figure. And particularly on this Venezuela matter, he is a super dominant figure because of his background, which I'll also talk about. But this story of how Rubio goes from being at war with Donald Trump a decade ago to being one of his most trusted and top advisors, it's an amazing one. And so what I ask people is, walk me through it. How did Rubio go from point A to point B? First, a reminder about point A. Marco Rubio ran for president against Donald Trump in 2016. It was a very big field. And Trump, one by one, mowed folks down, both by beating them in primaries and caucuses, but also because he would challenge them in the debates and in press conferences and brought them, whittled them down to size through insults, humiliation, all the things that Donald Trump does. Rubio, along with John Kasich, was effectively the last candidate standing against Trump. And rather than do more of the same, which is when Trump would insult other candidates, they would try to turn the other cheek and they would say, oh, this is beneath the dignity of the office. Jeb Bush called Trump a chaos candidate, said he would be a chaos president. They tried to basically say, I'm not going to get in the gutter with Trump. They followed Bill Clinton's famous adage, when you wrestle with pigs, you get dirty and the pig likes it. Rubio at the end, when it was clear that he was likely going to start losing a string of primaries and caucuses and be driven from the race, decided to kind of go for broke and to insult Trump right back to see whether he could beat him at his own game. So here's Donald Trump insulting a Rubio, famously calling him Little Marco. That was the nickname he gave him. This is S3, please.
Don't worry about it.
All right, wait.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen, gentlemen.
You ought to show up.
Gentlemen, you got to do better than those.
This guy has the number one
Mr. Trump, may I ask you,
absentee
Mr. Trump,
record in the United
I'd like to ask you a
States.
policy.
So that chaotic scene was from a debate, Rubio against Trump. And here's another one, again, very typical from the 2016 campaign. Donald Trump calling Marco Rubio a lightweight. This is S4, please.
Senator Rubio is a lightweight. We understand that. He wouldn't be able to do this. He wouldn't know a trade deal from any other deal. And
So that was typical of the way Trump would insult his opponents when anyone looked like they'd be a threat. And Rubio was hanging around. He'd done well enough in the primaries and caucuses and fundraising to be the primary final threat to Donald Trump. So Rubio, as I said, decided he would hit right back and call Trump schoolyard, barnyard names, just as Trump had done to him. Here's the second most famous thing Rubio said about Trump during this period. He called him a con man. This is S5, please.
And over, he's doing well in the polls. So I admit I'm an underdog. I ask people to join my effort at marcorubio.com so we can put a stop to this lunacy. We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion.
All right. So here's the most famous thing that Rubio said about Donald Trump in 2016. It speaks for itself, but basically he mocked him for his small fingers and small hands. Marco Rubio, 2016, S6, please.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? And you know what they say about men with small hands? You can't trust them. You can't trust.
So that was a total failure because he cannot beat Donald Trump at the dozens. And Rubio shortly after got out of the race. And if you think about kind of the caricature of Donald Trump, never forgiving, not being nice or accommodating to people who've insulted him, you'd think, well, now that Donald Trump's president in 2016, taking office in 2017, Rubio's done, right? He's not going to be a big player in Washington or in Republican politics. He was the opposite of MAGA, right? Well, Rubio changed. And it's testament to how smart he is and what a strategic thinker he is, that he didn't just resign himself to saying, well, I'm going to be in the outs. He sat down, he looked at the map, he looked at the roadmap people had used to get back in Donald Trump's good graces and ripped it up and said, I'm going to have my own map. I'm going to build my own relationship to Trump world. He changed his views on some issues like on immigration. But he also recognized that for Donald Trump, the personal is the political and vice versa. And so a big key to this story of how Marco Rubio goes in 2016 to being at war with Donald Trump to being one of his top advisors now involves building relationships. And the most important relationship you can build in Donald Trump's world, even more important than directly with Donald Trump, is with Ivanka Trump, his daughter. You'll recall she was a policy advisor in the first term. And Rubio worked with her on family and medical leave, family policy issues, and built a great relationship with her, very close to her, worked in tandem with her. And that helped him a lot. That was the first big relationship that I think Marco Rubio built, according to my sources in Trump world, that gave him a fresh start, had the president look at him in a different way. When Ivanka Trump says to her dad, this guy's a good guy, it made a big difference. So that was one relationship. Another relationship he had built ties to J.D. Vance. He and J.D. Vance share a lot. They're young dads. They care a lot about the work-family balance. They also are modern Republicans, very digitally oriented. They understand social media, but they're also policy wonks. They also are in the business of politics because they care about politics, government, and about policy. And so that alignment with J.D. Vance played a big role here. Then his relationship with Susie Wiles, his fellow Floridian. Susie Wiles is a big fan of Marco Rubio. She tells people that all the time and has done a lot to help empower him within the administration. Another close relationship, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has been very visible, very involved in policy related to Venezuela, but also a lot of the other foreign policy issues, even though historically he's been thought of as a domestic policy guy. He and Rubio have a very good relationship. So Susie Wiles, J.D. Vance, Ivanka, and Stephen Miller, all. And Rubio, as powerful as he's become, these dual hats, head of the State Department, head of the National Security Council, doesn't have a lot of enemies. Very similar to Vance, very unusual to be rising that fast, to take that much power, and yet to be so well liked. And then finally, Steve Witkoff. You know, you think about a normal Secretary of State wants to be the big dog on the big things, and yet he's delegated with the president's, planning. He's allowed Steve Witkoff to be the key guy on the Middle East stuff at times, the key guy on Russia, Ukraine at times. Not threatened by that. Rubio's fine with that. He's also, I'm told, very happy to get more time at home with his kids and his family, not to be constantly on planes flying around the world. So he's so well liked and so well respected that he's able to comfortably delegate stuff and to share power. Look, everybody, honest New Year's resolutions, they aren't hashtags. They're about deciding to be sharper, more effective, more in control. Beam is a company proudly founded in America, run by people who share our values, and they build products that help keep the promises you make to yourself, promises that actually matter. Their best-selling Dream Powder is a healthy nighttime blend packed with proven ingredients shown to improve sleep so you can wake up every day refreshed and ready to take on the day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients, reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigean, and of course, melatonin, all designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and then do what we all want to do, wake up feeling amazing without any of that next day morning fog. The chocolate peanut butter flavor is legit tasty. It's like having a guilt-free hot cocoa. Dream is made right here in America. No shortcuts, no junk. Founders who value hard work and results. Beam's already improved over 28 million nights of sleep. So if you've been waiting for the right time to try Dream, this is the time to do it. Go to shopdream.com/Mark. Use my code MARK for up to 40% off. That's just $39 with the code MARK, $1.25 a night for good sleep. Shopbeam.com/Mark. Go there today.